David Baye here for MuscularDevelopment.com. We are in Pittsburgh for the 2014 NPC Teen Collegiate and Masters National Championships. I am hanging out here with somebody you guys know very well, your back-to-back champion in the teen division, Cody Montgomery. Cody, a little bit different situation this year. You're 19 years old, so you are still eligible for the teen division, but you're also a college student, so you're hitting up two different divisions this year. You made history last year being the only back-to-back teen national championship. Obviously, if you made that three, you'd be repeating that and making history, but also nobody has ever won the teen and the collegiate. I don't believe in separate years, much less in the same year. After that big mouthful, that all being said, talk to us a little bit about what you've been up to the last year. You know, you had your first year in college, obviously training real hard, trying to balance all that stuff. You know, how's that all been working out for you?
You know, it's been working out really well. You know, I think with college, I got in a better rhythm with everything. You know, it was a little bit more laid back. Of course, you know, school was a little bit tougher. You know, high school was a breeze for me, but you know, I did well. I ended up with a 3.44 GPA, so you know, I'm happy with all my grades and all my school and everything. And you know, I've been pretty much as soon as I got off stage last year, same thing as the year before. You know, took about a week or two, you know, clear my mind, enjoy myself, and then I was, you know, back on it. And you know, I've been looking forward to tomorrow, you know, since I stepped off stage last year, you know, working for it. So, you know, I've been working really hard this year. I think, you know, every prep's a little bit different. Every year's a little bit different. You know, of course, being away from my parents and away from Dallas was a little different just because, you know, I didn't have Jonathan, you know, with me at all times and you know, the destination gym and everything like that. But, you know, I adapted well in San Antonio. You know, I started going to the Muscle Factory. Roland Gonzalez and his whole family, you know, just took me under their wing and basically, you know, just, you know, whatever I needed, you know, they were there for me. They have an awesome gym if you're ever in San Antonio to check it out. You know, and so longest prep I've done, 5 months, 20 weeks.
And what have you done in the past?
Last year, it's kind of iffy, maybe 11, maybe 10.
So as far as the change, did you just get heavier in the off season, or did you just want to kind of bring it in a little bit slower?
Well, 2012, I think I showed up in my best condition to date. Hopefully, change that tomorrow. But I did 16 weeks of hard dieting. You know, and I think it's better for me to come down slower. I think, you know, 20 weeks maybe, you know, it's a long time. It's a very long time, very long prep. It was very hard mentally, you know, those last
That's 5 months, man. You're looking at almost half the year of dieting. That's a lot.
I mean, I haven't had a cheeseburger in 5 months.
That's a tragedy.
Yeah, but no, nonetheless, I mean, it was a fun prep. It was a lot different than anything I've done. You know, we were pushing, you know, I had days where I was pushing 1,500 grams of carbs. I haven't been below 300 grams of carbs this entire prep. Wow. You know, so it's been a lot different. I'm, you know, obviously bigger. You know, I'm, I think, 17 pounds heavier than I was last year.
So, and what did you weigh in at last year?
I was 198.2 on the dot.
Oh, so you were like literally capped out the light heavyweights. So you're what, about 216, 217 this year?
I weighed in at 215. Okay. So just now.
I am not that good at math, obviously. Clear. I think in 17 pounds he was 200. Maybe we'll edit that out. Probably not. I'll probably leave it in there. Now, you know, when we talk about being a college student and getting ready for a competition, you know, there's two big things that come to mind. One is time, and the second is diet. Now, as far as, you know, obviously at 3.4 you did great with your school. As far as, you know, how many credits were you taking? I know, like, minimum at most universities, I think, to be considered full-time is about 12 credits. I know when I was in school, it was like, I'm going to take 12, the minimum that I can take to maintain full-time status. What did your class schedule look like as far as when you had to be up in the morning and the amount of credits you were taking?
Well, actually, I started out with 12 hours because it was my first semester.
12 credits or?
12 credit hours the first semester. And then actually during prep, I was taking 15 hours. But I planned it kind of strategically throughout the year to where I was able to take some more online classes for my second semester, which just 2 of them. So, I mean, I still was taking, so that's still, you know, 9 hours in class a week. But I was able to, you know, figure out my schedule and figure out, you know, what days, okay, this is the days, you know, I'm going to take a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that way I can train Tuesday, Thursday at this time. You know what I mean?
All right, let's talk about your diet schedule a little bit. You know, I've, you know, spent way more time in college than anybody should, so I'm, you know, pretty familiar with that. You know, a lot of kids get meal plans at the school and heading to the cafeteria 2 or 3 times a day. How did you work out your food? I mean, were you buying groceries and still cooking like on a Foreman in a microwave, or you know, what did you do off season? And then you know, when your contest prep time started, you know, how did you manage that?
Well, off season I kept it really clean. You know, I pretty much eat the same things off season as I do on season. This year, might change it up in the future, but no, I have an off-campus apartment, full kitchen, pretty much. You know,
and they let you do that as a freshman. Did you have? Because I know at some of the universities in Wisconsin, I don't know if it's changed in the past, you know, whenever since I graduated, but I know some of them, unless you're traveling from a certain distance, require you to live on campus your freshman and sophomore year. Did you have to get some sort of special exception, or is it just different down there?
That was one of my requirements when I was looking up schools, actually. So I applied to 3 schools, and they were the 3 schools in Texas that allowed for off-campus. Well, I mean, there's quite a few smaller ones, but you know, a larger school like UTSA, sure. You know, it's got 27,000 students roughly. You know, but it's more of a community school, so they allow people to live off campus. And you know, I didn't want to live in a dorm either way. You know, whether I was a bodybuilder or not. You know, I mean, just it does not sound appetizing to me. You know, being in the same room as somebody else at all times and not having any privacy. But yeah, I mean, it worked out really well. You know, and I got to give a huge, you know, shout out to, you know, my parents for paying for my school and paying for my apartment. You know, my girlfriend, girlfriend Samantha's right over here. She has been a lifesaver this year. It's, you know, I've been asking more of her this year than I ever have. You know, it's, you know, every year it gets a little tougher, and you got to do a little bit more in every aspect. But yeah, you know, I'm just happy I'm here, and you know, I'm you know, thank God for another successful year, hopefully, and we will see how I do tomorrow.
Before we head out, Cody, any more shout outs? Anybody you want to say hi to?
Well, you know, my list has been getting longer and longer as the years have.
As many as you want to go, man. This is your time.
You know, I want to give a huge shout out first and foremost to Evogen Nutrition for backing me up these last few years, and of course Muscular Development for backing me up this past year. You know, it's been awesome having their support. You know, Nick Del Toro down in Texas shooting me and everything. You know, I want to give a huge shout out to my girlfriend Samantha. You can't give it.
Don't forget that one, man. You'll be in deep trouble, deep trouble.
And then you know, huge shout out to my parents and Samantha's parents. I've actually been living with Samantha's family, so you know, I just want to give them all of them a huge shout out for putting up with me, you know, throughout this diet. It's been, you know, the longest diet, like I said, and it's been the hardest prep by far that I've ever gone through. So, you know, I'm just happy to be here and, you know, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully, you know, getting the job done tomorrow. So, you know, I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone that has been following me, you know, throughout my teen career. You know, I'm so overly appreciative, and you know, I can't thank everyone enough for all the support and all the comments and everything online. You know, negative or positive. You know,
I don't think there's too many people who have a whole lot of negative things to say about your 2-time teen national champ online. So, yeah, well, probably a few. They're most likely idiots. So don't worry about them too much. But all right, man. You know, for myself and everybody at musculardevelopment.com, best of luck. Wrapping up your teenage career here in Pittsburgh tomorrow, moving on to bigger and better things. So hopefully you can be a 3-time national champion. We'll see. And if I had to put my money down, you'd be my odds-on favorite. So we're going to wrap it up, guys. This is for David Baye and Cody Montgomery. This is musculardevelopment.com from the 2014 NPC Teen Collegiate and Masters National Championships.